When it comes to Grisha's track record as a father, well, he ain't that great. On the other hand, he certainly knows how to pick a wife. While Dinah isn't exactly a great mother, you can't deny that Carla, on the other hand, may just be his singular crowning achievement in Attack on Titan. Carla led a pretty great life right up until the end when Grisha's former wife, well, ate her. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We must start from the beginning. I remember, like it was yesterday. Did you know that at 1,500 followers on Twitter, I'll be holding an Attack on Titan themed giveaway? Oh, it's true! So follow me there, as the giveaway is going to be my biggest giveaway on this channel to date. No, that's not how it goes. This is how it goes. Ah, yes, I remember like it was yesterday. Carla begins her role in the story as a waitress in Shiganshina. At this time, Keith Shadis is a frequenter of her bar and is interested in Carla romantically. And who wouldn't be? It's the typical cliche of the soldier being greeted by the pretty waitress, though in typical AOT fashion, things fork into a path most unexpected. After Shadis finds the freshly made Attack Titan, Carla Yaeger, he later on takes him to the bar with him despite the entire audience collectively knowing what's about to happen. Carla, immediately being worried that Shadis is recruiting her customers, grills him a little bit, though Grisha puts her worries at ease by stating that role is dedicated to chosen individuals unlike himself. This scene does a couple of things. The first is that it shows one of Carla's traits, which is her dismissal of the Survey Corps, because as Grisha states what he said, under her breath she states a "oh do they now" kind of response, as if to say that the Survey Corps don't need any more chosen ones. But as well, she seems very skeptical of those within the military's true intentions and also warns Grisha of their methods of recruiting. Carla very well could have just ignored this situation and turned a blind eye, but she chose to spoke up, and that's solely due to the fact that she's somewhat skeptical of the military at this point and just doesn't like them. Why? Well, we'll come to that answer sooner rather than later. As for Shadis, hearing those words from Grisha that he was special was something he'd never been told in his life. This is a huge moment for Shadis' character, as for him, it gives a huge confidence boost by showing firsthand just exactly how his job affects others' perceptions of him in a new way. While it's normal for Shadis to fling himself off a horse using a combination of acrobatics and movement gear and a high precision and highly dangerous job, for others like Grisha, it's simply not. To put it in other words, Shadis to Grisha is like an NBA player to a person who watches the NBA. Not to say Grisha isn't special in his own ways, but this is something only a select few are ever able to do. This also spurs him on to achieve even greater things, like eventually becoming commander. After one day in a meeting hearing how people are talking, Shadis believes that one day these feeble average men will soon realize that the world they're living in is but a rat's nest. He's going to achieve something great, something amazing, and then those men will see who he really is, and so will Carla. Though sadly, his road to success will be painted with nothing but a black mark. As a plague spreads through Shiganshina, Carla catches the disease and is quickly brought to Grisha, who has now become a doctor, treating and finding a cure for the plague. Not only is Grisha able to cure Carla, saving the lives of herself and her family, but also single-handedly curing the plague which threatened to wipe known humanity out at the time. This would be Shadis' descent into his own failings, or rather the very thing he always wanted: success. Carla would quickly grow closer to Grisha, eventually marrying him, and while this happens, Shadis would ascend the military rankings and become commander, as he had always desired, though it would cost him the love of his life to his best friend no less, the man that he saved. Though things get bad to worse, as it's quite obvious that Shadis' role as commander wasn't as he had dreamed of. He simply just wasn't as good as he thought he was, and thus eventually resigned to Erwin Wright, someone who shows much more tenacity tenacity and wits as a tactician who was able to bring a certain kind of dynamicism that Shadis simply could not. Though not before one more encounter with Carla. After returning from the battle, Shadis runs into Carla, who is now holding her newborn son, Aaron Yaeger. Obviously heartbroken and stunned by this development, Carla asks Shadis if he plans to keep doing this until he dies. Oh man, you can only imagine how those words shattered Shadis at that moment. I know they'd break my heart. Snapping, Shadis talks about how average people and men lack creativity, that they cannot achieve anything great, and that it's easy for her to live this life where she only has to pour drinks and cozy up to the next man. Though, Carla counters that nobody has to be great, because at the end of the day, a person doesn't matter because they're recognized by somebody else, nor do they need to be better than anyone else inherently. Aaron being born into this world makes him special enough, and that doesn't just go for her son, but that goes for everyone as well as Shadis. Carla's speech here is beautiful. It is so motherly and full of wisdom, but as well is true and probably a wake-up call for Shadis. The man has been living out his life trying to live up to another man's expectations, to the people of Shiganshina's expectations, when all he ever needed to do was live up to his own. Instead of pursuing Carla while trying to pursue the position he wanted, he incorrectly thought the right path was to achieve some weird form of greatness that he had in his head and then reap the rewards. The reality for Shadis was that all he needed to do was live a normal life and be a normal person, just like anybody else. Now getting older, seeing Carla with another man's child, the woman he loved, he realizes the error of his ways and the path he chose, which only brought him heartache, but a valuable lesson in the end. Shadis was always special. He was always one of a kind, a great man who wanted to achieve great things, just like any normal person would. But in the end, all Shadis achieved was a life without happiness, without a legacy to share with someone that he loved. Carla thereafter would raise Aaron in a loving and caring home with Grisha, and at one point even accepted Mikasa Ackerman into their home as their own daughter. This is where we really see the woman who Carla truly is, which is almost comically just a basic mom. She's strong-willed, takes the initiative as a parent, is self-sacrificing, and just adores her family and happy is for what she's achieved. It's rather surprising that Carla would raise the enemy of the world in such an ideal environment to raise a child. She even forbids Aaron from trying to join the Survey Corps at one point, knowing full well that him joining the Survey Corps would mean his eventual early death at the hands of a Titan. She's pretty damn smart. But sadly, her time in this world would be cut short when the colossal and armored Titans attacked, trying to flood out the founding Titan, sending debris flying everywhere from the walls. Many people are crushed and houses are laid to waste. One such household would be the Yaeger's home. Under the rubble is a pinned Carla whose legs are crushed. We don't have to go into detail from here on out. You know what's going to go down here. Aaron sees firsthand the Titanized Dinah Fritz eat Carla as her life flashes before her eyes, remembering all of the happy moments that she spent with her family. What I find so amazing about Attack on Titan, and in particular episode 1, is that Carla was the very first person in Attack on Titan to be shown eaten by another Titan. And to make that even more memorable, some of her final words were so tragic and so memorable. Simply, don't go, as she covers her mouth. A tragic death, but quite possibly one of the single most important events in Attack on Titan. Carla's death would spur Aaron to dedicate himself to the dream of eliminating all Titans, which has seemingly not changed ever since. If it weren't for Carla's death, this cycle of events maybe would have never occurred. Aaron wouldn't be a vengeful person, and maybe, just maybe, things would have turned out much better than they did down the line. But I think that Carla's legacy in this series to many is probably just Aaron's mom that was eaten by Dinah. But I think her story threads throughout the entirety of Attack on Titan in such a beautiful way. Carla inspired Shadis to become commander, and after resigning would train the next generation of Survey Corps members, who would be the most important soldiers Paradise Island has ever produced. And that's in big part to Shadis's expertise and experience on the battlefield and as a commander. Carla, as well, made Grisha rethink his strategy of simply retaking the founding and choosing to live live out a normal life, giving Grisha the happiness he deserved and the chance to right the wrongs of how he handled his life with Zeke and Dinah. But obviously, Carla's most important role, though, was raising the world's most terrifying enemy and savior all at the same time, Eren Yeager. If you enjoyed this video, you absolutely need to check out my video on Marco Bot and Hitch Drace, among others. Especially if you're intrigued with characters like Carla, those videos are for you. I'll see you guys over there.